Welcome to Strenuous Life Radio, the podcast where men and women, leaderpreneurs and entrepreneurs learn the essentials and the soft skills of the strenuous life. It's J.R. Hendrick here. I'm taking over this particular podcast and possibly the next few for a while. We're going to be talking about the political realities of the Vietnam War. Now, you're going to hear perspectives from people, possibly I think, who were alive back then, through a service called Prager University. And then, you're going to hear from the perspective of me. About the political realities of the Vietnam War. So here you go. If you can be patient, we'll get this stuff done. Taking his time, but here we go.
Decades back in late 1972, South Vietnam and the United States were winning the Vietnam War decisively by every conceivable measure. That's not just my view. That was the view of our enemy, the North Vietnamese government officials. Victory was apparent when President Nixon ordered the U.S. Air Force to bomb industrial and military targets in Hanoi, North Vietnam's capital city, and in Haiphong, its major port city. And we would stop the bombing if the North Vietnamese would attend the Paris peace talks that they had left earlier. The North Vietnamese did go back to the Paris peace talks, and we did stop the bombing, as promised. On January the 23rd of 1973, President Nixon gave a speech to the nation on primetime television, announcing that the Paris Peace Accords had been initialed by the United States, South Vietnam, North Vietnam, the Viet Cong, and the accords would be signed on the 27th. What the United States and South Vietnam received in those accords was victory. At the White House, it was called VV Day, Victory in Vietnam Day. The U.S. backed up that victory with a simple pledge within the Paris Peace Accords, saying should the South require any military hardware to defend itself against any North Vietnam aggression, we would provide replacement aid to the South on a piece-by-piece, one-to-one replacement, meaning a bullet for a bullet, a helicopter for a helicopter. For all things lost, replacement. The advance of communist tyranny had been halted by those accords. Then it all came apart, and it happened this way. In August of the following year, 1974, President Nixon resigned his office as a result of what became known as Watergate. 3 months after his resignation came the November congressional elections, and within them the Democrats won a landslide victory for the new Congress. And many of the members used their new authority to defund the military aid that the United States had promised, peace for peace, breaking the commitment that we made to the South Vietnamese in Paris to provide whatever military hardware the South Vietnamese needed in case of aggression from the North. Put simply and accurately, a majority of Democrats of the 94th Congress did not keep the word of the United States. On April the 10th of 1975, President Gerald Ford appealed directly to those members of the Congress in an evening joint session televised to the nation. In that speech, he literally begged the Congress to keep the word of the United States. But as President Ford delivered his speech, many of the members of the Congress walked out of the chamber. Many of them had an investment in America's failure in Vietnam. They had participated in demonstrations against the war for many years, and they wouldn't give the aid. On April the 30th, South Vietnam surrendered, and re-education camps were constructed, and the phenomenon of the boat people began. If the South Vietnamese had received the arms that the United States promised, would the result have been different? It already had been different. The North Vietnamese leaders admitted that they were testing the new president, Gerald Ford, and they took one village after another, then cities, then provinces, and our only response was to go back on our word. The U.S. did not resupply the South Vietnamese as we had promised. It was then that the North Vietnamese knew they were on the road to South Vietnam's capital city, Saigon, that would soon be renamed Ho Chi Minh City. Former Arkansas Senator William Fulbright, who had been the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, made a public statement about the surrender of South Vietnam. He said this: "I am no more distressed than I would be about Arkansas losing a football game to Texas." The U.S. knew that North Vietnam would violate the accords, and so we planned for it. What we did not know was that our own Congress would violate the accords, and violate them, of all things, on behalf of the North Vietnamese. That's what happened. I'm Bruce Hershenson.
All right, now, time for you to receive a unique perspective. Now, my view about this is I wasn't there. I was born around the same time Jimmy was, so there we go. I wasn't there. Like Jimmy, we just kids. So, in essence, we're gonna zip on over to some historical quotes that deal about the subject. We're talking political realities. I'm not necessarily talking about partisan politics. Very rarely do I make comments political unless it's, about a social policy of sorts. So, we're going to go ahead. See if we can find a quote section from Theodore Roosevelt. Well, I'm not finding it right out, but one of the things he said is that the one thing that could damage this country is peace. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Quotes here. All right. He says, "The things that will destroy America are prosperity at any price, peace at any price, safety first instead of duty first, the love of soft living, and the get rich quick theory of life." You heard it from him, not me. You've heard it from him, and so, as JR here, I'm going to tell you loud and clear. Like I said, I don't dare. I wouldn't have much of an opinion. But I'm willing to bet some of them partisans back then were at the peace at any price. Maybe possibly on both sides of the aisle, who knows. And I think we're having that problem now. Peace at any price. and prosperity at any price. And see what we can do to get rich quick. I tell you something. My daddy started drilling for oil around the time the Vietnam War started. And he didn't believe in getting rich extra quick. Now, at the time, he had a brother named Carl, Uncle Carl. In some ways, Uncle Carl did, and so that caused sometimes some problems between him and Daddy. Nevertheless, Daddy invited him to marry to his wedding to Mama at the ranch. But the two couldn't totally reconcile over that. And then, of course, a few years after marriage, when I was born, not long afterwards, he was in the Air Force serving the Vietnam War. And I think he kind of got mad at Uncle Carl because he was marching peace at any price. So that kind of made me mad. So we didn't speak that much to Uncle Carl. There were occasions he'd allow him up at the ranch, not much. Don't get me wrong, the Vietnam War cost a lot of lives. Was it right to release them Pentagon Papers? I don't know. But like Jimmy, I evaluated the court case, and I gotta say it sounds reasonable that they did what they did. Because I also watched the movie. It seems that Ellsberg was omitting some top secret things, but who knows? It's crazy. Those of us in Generation X and younger, we don't know. Some of it's based on what our parents were told us. I'm willing to bet that most of them were of the age that were patriots. They didn't mind serving this country. Now, I hope you enjoy listening to Strenuous Life Radio. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. Become a part of Strenuous Life Radio. It's J.R. Hendrick saying, don't you just sit there and take it. You build your dreams so you can take it. And like my daddy always said, you think strong, you live strong. You live the strenuous life. Y'all take care now, you hear?